excited to start a new chapter, really take this organization to the next level.
We got more of the presser coming up on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chef from the NFL. Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton suspended 8 games for violating the league's conduct policy stemming from an arrest for domestic violence. On the diamond, both Seattle and Houston have dropped back-to-back games. Seattle's lead in the West down to just 2 games. M's open a series tomorrow in San Diego against the Padres. First pitch is at 6:40. From college hoop, UConn and head coach Dan Hurley have agreed to a new 6-year deal worth $50 million. From golf, Keegan Bradley has been named the U.S. captain for the 2025 Ryder Cup team. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad is next. 2 pairs of tickets for Hairfest to give away on the show. All right, what a way to kick off a week with a little Beach Boys Pet Sounds. What a great album that is, Godfather. One that you got me on vinyl. Epic.
It's one of the greatest of all time, really, when you consider what they did musically and then be able to sing what they had to sing. The range that those guys had in their heyday was amazing.
All right, we got a lot of things coming up on the show today, including more lunacy from LeBron James and company.
That's going to have to be a standing sort of day-by-day thing that we do.
If we can have Bo Nix updates on a regular basis, we can have LeBron's lunacy on a regular basis.
I like it.
Between LeBron and his hype machine, Clutch Sports, ESPN,
yeah.
It's nonstop nonsense right now.
Yeah, the Clutch Sports, shall we say, partners in the media who are constantly spooning out this garbage that we're supposed to swallow. No,
it's too much. It's way too much. I can't take it anymore, Godfather. It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
We'll get to that. Dwight turned me on to an epic documentary that I checked out over the weekend. It's part of the reason why we're playing Beach Boys to kick off the show. So we'll get more on that. And coming up in 15 minutes, I've got some terrific life advice for you. Do not, under any circumstances, think it's a good idea to do a full body workout on Wednesday and then roll out on Thursday and hit 36 holes of golf in 100-degree weather. It's a bad idea, trust me. Trust me. Oh, my gosh.
I would just say 18 holes of golf in 100-degree weather. When you haven't played 18 in a couple of years,
yeah, you gutted it out.
That's a real bad idea.
Yeah, I gave myself a talking to. The doctor gave you a talking to. So
yeah, just
a lot of dumb decisions that it's par for the course for me. And I thought, why not go out and play another 18 in 100-degree weather? The sunshine is spectacular. It was so warm. It was nearly 70 degrees. I teed off at 6:40 this morning, and it was already warm. I mean, warm. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, they're saying tonight the low will be 70. It's supposed to be 104 tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness. And I just talked to my boy Steve down in Vegas. They just hit 120.
I saw that.
Yeah.
That's a record.
Yeah.
120.
He said that it's like surface of the sun hot down there right now.
Yeah.
And he said his face feels like Dennis Conner. Remember that guy who used to drive the boats, captain the boats, and he had the leatherish face?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what he says he feels like. So a lot of things to get to, but you were over at the practice facility. We cut in and carried the press conference live just after 2 o'clock. But Deni Avdija, who the Trailblazers acquired from the Wizards in that draft day trade involving Malcolm Brogdon, was introduced to Rip City today. What were some of your takeaways from Avdija, who appeared to be, surprised and took a moment for him to digest being traded by the Wizards, a team that he played well for and fit well with?
I think it was one of those things for him that happened at just the right time. He started to come on last season. It's really the first opportunity he's really ever had to play regular minutes and get a starting spot, and he played well. Everybody in the league saw it, too. I think by the end of the year, he had convinced people he was the starting small forward in the league. And so he's taken this move as a chance to go another step further, where he's going to not only start for this team, but probably play a bigger role than what he would have had in Washington. And so I think he's excited about that. He's excited to come to a different team, different franchise. Yeah, they're going to lose here. They lost in Washington, but at least you're going to be losing with some new faces in a new city and something to get excited about. He made a great comment about the idea of he's seen a lot of teams in this league in his time in the league, and this will be his 5th season, that were bad, and now they're good, and so he knows it's possible. He knows what can happen. And I think, at least for this first year, he's going to be fine playing with his team. I was impressed with the ease in which he handled the questions. He was very comfortable, rather soft-spoken, I thought, which I always look – I like players who are soft-spoken. They tend to usually let their playing talk for them. They're not brash or a lot of smack-talking. But I think he's going to be good that way. I was also surprised, Chad, he's not a hefty guy. He's not a power forward size guy. He's thin. He's on the thin side, I would say, which is fine. It means he's probably very athletic. He's probably going to move well. From what I've seen defensively, he does move laterally well, which is so important defensively. So I thought he made a very good first impression. He didn't overdo it. He didn't overstate things. He was real. I liked it.
Yeah, I agree. His demeanor was terrific, and he's obviously confident in his game because he's put a lot of time and work into his game, and he knows that he can do a lot of different things on the floor. That's what I'm excited about is just his versatility. He can shoot the ball, good playmaker. He's a plus defender. He can run the floor. As you mentioned, he's got some quickness, and he fills a spot that they've desperately needed for quite some time, which is a small forward, and that's the role that he plays. But I think he is one of those underrated players in the NBA where I think the Blazers got a good player here in this deal. And I think he's going to be one of those players where he's just going to continue to make plays when he has an opportunity to play. And you're going to see it and you're going to be like, yeah, I want more of that. I think he's a darn good basketball player. And he's one of those players that you don't really know it because he doesn't have a big name. And he also played for the Wizards, who are just a trash organization, and they're not featured. So now here in Portland, Blazer fans are going to be able to see him. But I just think his demeanor, his team concept, the way he plays, and the different things he can do on the floor with defense, playmaking, and shooting, I think is going to be a nice find. I think he's an underrated player, and I'm very happy the Blazers got him.
Yeah, and Chad, players who have to make that journey into a starting role. I mean, when he came here, he was drafted reasonably high and all that. Nobody knew who the heck he was. He wasn't going to walk in and start for an NBA team, even a lousy NBA team. He had to prove everything he had right off the bat. And he hadn't played in a high-level league, in a country that's really churning out a lot of NBA players. So he had stuff to learn when he came here, and he's just slowly progressed. He's worked his way up the ladder, and I've always found guys who had to come up that way and didn't have things handed to them right off the bat, they end up to be better players because they appreciate what they did and how they got there. So they don't quit working once they get to where they want. They continue to work so that they hold on to what they have.
Well, it's funny you mention that because the word out of Washington, he's a very good practice player.
Yeah.
One of those players that coaches love to have because he shows up ready to go, brings atmosphere to the practice with his competition. And I think young teams like the Trailblazers need that type of ingredient in their practice sessions to be able to push guys and hopefully get them to that next level. And the other thing I like about him, too, and this has been much needed on this team over the last couple of years, but he's durable. He plays in the majority of games.
Yeah.
He made a point to mention today that he goes through great lengths to keep himself in good condition, to make sure his body is right. And as a result, he's available and ready to play. And the Blazers need that. They need guys who can be there and be available, and injuries have been a big part of that. But Avi is a durable player who shows up night in and night out.
Well, in today's NBA, Chad, all teams need that because this is an era where we're not seeing very many players who show up every day.
No.
Not a lot of 82 gamers left anymore.
No, I grew up in an era where whether a guy was healthy or hurt, they played in every single game.
Yeah, that's
and
what
you
you
would look
did.
down at the end of the year, you'd be like, 80 games, 81 games, 82 games, and it was just like that for most of the guys. It's different now because guys are worth a lot more money. They have a different approach to rest and how they want to manage things, and that's fine. I have no issue with that, but it's nice to have guys who are available who can play and play big minutes and be able to go throughout the entire season. And I just think Avi is, look, he's not a star player, but he's one of those difference makers on a team where he can be not just a role player, but a bona fide starter, someone who can start, who can play, who can contribute. And I think his style of play, because he can move without the basketball too, Godfather, that could come very helpful for a guy like Scoot Henderson.
Right. Right. He's going to need help. No, I mean, a point guard like him, who's not going to be a great offensive threat, at least his first, his second year here, you need players who can help you. If he can slash, if he can get to the basket and find himself open, that's an avenue for Scoot to get an assist, to make a play. And he's got to have guys around him who can do that kind of stuff, or he's stuck with the ball.
I was also pleased that no one in the press asked a ridiculous question about Palestine or anything of that nature. I thought it was coming, and fortunately it did not. So I was proud of everyone who was there, including yourself. And I did see on Instagram Live, there were idiots commenting, free Palestine and stuff like that. Huge in Israel. He's got a lot of Israeli fans.
Yes, he does.
And they were very active and very happy to see him in Rip City and getting a chance to play. So this is a guy he's a big name back home. They love him. And now he's going to be a part of Rip City. And Godfather, you've seen this time and time again over the years, right? If you come in and you play hard and you make plays, the fan base is going to embrace you.
Absolutely.
That's all it comes down to. Play hard, make plays, the fan base will embrace you, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and you'll end up loving this city, too. We talk every once in a while to Allah Abdul Nabi.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he speaks of Portland's incredible to me. He loved it here.
Yeah.
And the fans loved him. There was just something about him. He was very charismatic, and they loved him here. But, it's not like he was a star here. He barely played some years and didn't play all that great. But they'll love you here if you just show up and play hard.
I love it, too. Avdija, he found out, like a lot of players do, he's over in Israel, and all of a sudden, Woj bomb. And he's alerted to the fact that he's been dealt.
I hate it when teams can't give you a heads up before you're actually dealt.
No, it sucks.
That's not right.
No, it's not. They don't give you the heads up. Woj and the rest of the dudes who are all over it get the stuff out, and before you know it, you got your friends and family contacting you about something you're not even aware of.
Yeah.
Because it's the middle of the night and you're in Israel, and all of a sudden, Woj bomb. Boom. Oh, by the way, you've been dealt. I don't care who you are or where you come from, even though it's a part of the business, being traded, it's difficult.
Yeah, and people have to understand it's not just, I'm going to be wearing a different uniform next year. It's like, oh, yeah, what about where I've been living in Washington, that house I've been renting that I just renewed a lease on, and all my clothes I left behind there, and probably a car he left behind there too. This stuff doesn't work very well in your private life.
I was just disappointed, Godfather, that you didn't get a chance to ask him, hey, so why did you let your agent construct your contract to where it
I know I should
declines with time? What's up with that?
Yeah. By the way, that's the worst contract I've ever seen, kid. I mean, that makes no sense at all. Do you think you're going to be playing worse as you go on in your next 3 years or
now,
what?
Based on what I've seen in the NBA, a lot of contracts should technically be structured like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you're over the age of 34, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. All right. Rip City Drive. We'll come back. I'll give you some helpful life advice, and then we'll get into a very good topic. Scoot Henderson is not going to participate in Summer League action. Is that a good decision or a bad decision? We'll deal with that next. Oh, Godfather, I've been laughing my ass off. That Twitter handle, 70 Sports,
Yeah.
he just has been putting out some amazing stuff. But he put out a picture of a merry-go-round and talked about how the stuff that we grew up with on our playgrounds at schools, and he's 100% right. I'll never forget going to school for the first time, and on the playground at our elementary school in Manford, Oklahoma, they had the merry-go-round.
Yeah, now it's not like the merry-go-round at the carnivals. We should say that. It's the one you had on the playground.
Yep.
The kids jumped on it, and somebody would take a running start and push it and get it going really fast, right?
Yes, and then you would hang on for dear life, and those things were well greased, so they would spin around at ridiculous speed, and eventually you'd lose your grip and get ejected off. I skinned up both my knees, got ejected off the merry-go-round, and they put Band-Aids on me in the school office, and then I went about my business.
Yeah.
But the other thing that was unbelievable was the jungle gym.
Oh, my gosh. A death trap.
It was a death trap, and the amazing part was it was a gigantic beast of a machine, and it was like a big teeter-totter, and all the kids would pile on one side, and then inevitably there'd be one kid dangling like 9 to 10 feet up in the air on the other side, hoping and holding on for dear life until eventually his grip gave, and he would fall down on this metal machine, and we'd all be laughing our asses off. I'll never forget my buddy Keith, who broke his arm on the thing, kids getting ejected off the merry-go-rounds, and yet they didn't get rid of the stuff. We just kept going out there and playing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable to me.
Nobody sued anybody in those days. That's the thing. That was the trick. See, the one we had, it was on cement. So it didn't tip or anything like that. But kids would climb, and it didn't matter how high you climbed.
Yeah.
Since it was on cement, if you fell off, you were seriously injured. You know, I mean, we had one kid a year at least break an arm. A boy or a girl would always break an arm falling off that thing.
Yeah.
Because your reaction would be to put your arms down. And of course, the arm wouldn't bend the correct direction. And those things were terribly dangerous.
And it wasn't like my dad said, don't go on that thing again. He's like, no, you've got to hold on tighter. He was giving me tactics.
No, my dad said, get closer to the center. Then you'd have further to go before you went flying off. He was right, too. It worked better.
Dude, the stuff that went down when we were younger, it's mind-blowing when you look at the way everyone's handled now. Like, I remember by the time my daughter got on her bike for the first time, Mom had her decked out in, like, wrist guards, freaking helmets, knee pads. I didn't have any of that crap.
As a kid, I rode bikes everywhere. Never once did I even own a helmet. I don't think I might have seen one on one of those guys racing at Alpenrose Velodrome. They were racing on that bike circuit. But no, we didn't have helmets in those days.
No, of course not. No, the only thing we were worried about back then when we were zooming around the neighborhood on our dirt bikes was racking your nuts on the crossbar. I mean, honestly, we weren't worried about our head, brain damage. You know, it's like, dude, don't hit your nuts. I mean, that's really what it was all about. It just kills me. Now, when we rode motorcycles, then it's like my dad's like, oh, you got to put the helmet on, you know? But we were out there riding our bikes around doing crazy stuff. No helmets. Yeah. Not once. It's crazy to think about the stuff that we did. Sitting in the front seat with Nana and Papa, no seatbelt, right in the front seat.
I remember when the bikes finally came out with handlebar brakes, you know, because before you just push the pedals backwards and you stop. Well, they never told the kids that if you use the brake on the front wheel,
you're done.
But you don't use it on the back,
you're going to go over the top.
Flying right over the handlebars. Some kid did that right in front of our house. My mom went out there and said, gosh, I don't know whether to pick up his 2 front teeth and give them to him or just send him home.
All right, I've got a public service announcement. I didn't know if it was possible for me to OD on golf to the point where I'm like, I got to take a day off. It's too much. But I think I hit my limit this week. I played so much golf that it was ridiculous. But what I did, I miscalculated everything. Wednesday, the day before the 4th, it's my full body workout day with Luke. So I went in and we just absolutely ripped it up. I got a great workout. And I mentioned to Luke, I was like, yeah, tomorrow I'm playing 36. He's like, you're going to do what? He goes, we just worked out. He goes, you're an idiot. I was like, yeah, you're probably right, but I got to go for it. So I got
and for people who don't know, a Luke workout isn't like your normal what you do down at 24-hour
No,
fitness.
it's not a passive workout. Yeah, it's brutal. So, and I've been having that issue with my right hip or glute where, you know, because I've been playing so much golf and then with the workout, it gets aggravated, tightens up a little bit. Well, anyways, I thought I was fine after the workout. So I got up on the 4th and went out to Forest Hills and played 18. It was perfect. Great weather, played well. It was hot, but it was really good. Ran on into Jason Bond out there, who's a big fan of the show, and he's a good dude. I played with him before, so we're hanging, we're playing, and everything's golden, right? So I'm done there, and then I drive, and I look at my clock. I'm like, I'm going to have just enough time. It was about 55 minutes to go to Willamette Valley Country Club to meet you and Nancy. And so I arrived, and then about 15 minutes later, I'm on the tee box for hole number 1, and we're teeing off again. And by then, the temperature had risen, so it was about 100 degrees out, and I'm walking it, and we're playing. And then about 3 holes in, I'm like, oh, this is too much. But we grinded it out, and you grinded it out, and it was hot.
Yeah.
Was it not hot out there? It was flipping hot.
It was impossible.
And I was
we
drinking.
didn't have enough water. We didn't have cold towels. We weren't really prepared for
No, not for that type of heat.
Yeah.
So I got done, and I took a shower there at the club. And then by the time I cooled off and got home, and later on that night when I got ready for bed, I was like, I got a tea time here in about 6 hours.
Oh, no.
There's
you
no way I
don't.
can do it. And my right hip and that glute had tightened up. So I'm like hobbling around like an old man. And I had to take the day off. And I rested. And then I went back out. And I was fine the rest of the weekend. But, man, for a full day, I was just in shutdown mode. It was like Operation Shutdown. It's like my body told me, like, you're not getting up for anything. You just need rest. It was hot.
Yeah.
Hot, Godfather.
Yeah, it was impossible. And I
So
would
don't do it.
I would sound the warning bell for anybody that's going to do anything too strenuous this week.
Uh.
I'm a hot weather guy. You know that, Chad. And you said something to me about that. It's like, and Nancy did too. She said, I thought you liked 95 degrees. I said, I do like 95 degrees when I'm sitting up on the deck with a nice, refreshing, cold Diet Coke. Not when I'm out here on the golf course in 95-degree heat. And you got to remember, I take twice as many strokes to get around that course as you do. So, you know, it's a little more difficult.
Yes, and I would say that the ankle whiteness that I have from wearing crew socks for 40
Is that
years,
gone now?
it's I'm getting some color down there. I've had to be very careful and keep some sunblock on there so I don't burn it, but there's color there now.
Oh, good.
It's not matched up with the rest of my legs, but I'm getting some color there. Now, who was a nice guy that we played with?
Roger. We played with Roger.
Well, Roger is one of the coolest guys of all time.
Yeah.
Loved being around him, loved talking with him. He was a very nice man.
Good golfer.
Good
nice
golfer,
guy.
great guy, big sports fan. We were talking baseball. He's a big baseball fan.
Mhm.
And, you know, I was talking with him. He reminded me of my Nana because I asked him, I said, are you married or single? And he said, I'm widowed. And he had lost his wife, I think, to cancer probably about 10 years ago, somewhere in that area. And he said, you know, he had tried some dating and met a couple of nice people, but he's like, I just realized that what I had, I'm never going to experience again. So he just decided he didn't want to pursue that anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the way my Nana was, is like, you know, she didn't want to put herself in a position where she was always comparing the new man to Papa, but she knew she would do that. But yeah, so Roger
well,
was
you
awesome.
and Roger are both married to golf anyway.
He loves
you
golf.
don't have room for another.
No, golf is the mistress, and it's a
Yeah.
nasty one too sometimes.
Yeah.
So do not do a full body workout and then go out the next day in 100-degree weather and play 36 holes. It's not going to be an easy experience. Now, I do want to ask you about this because we were waiting to get word, and we finally got word, but Scoot Henderson is not going to participate in Summer League action this year. Klingon's going to be down there, and a bunch of guys that I'm not too familiar with. I don't think you're too familiar with.
Yeah.
But Scoot's not going to go. What is your take on Scoot Henderson not participating in the Trailblazers Summer League?
Well, that's a tough call for me, Chad, because, you know, are 4 or 5 Summer League games going to really matter in his career moving forward? Probably not. But at the same time, it's competition. It's games. And I think given the way he came in with no college, played G League Ignite for a couple of years, then last year he missed 20 games. I'm not so sure that it wouldn't benefit him to go down and play. But the organization didn't seem too keen on it. I don't know how he feels about it. I've been told that he said he wanted to play. I don't really know one way or the other. But I think a lot of the league was looking for him to play, and I know the fans were looking for him to play. Coming off the year he came off, I can understand why a fan would say, wait a second. You're not playing Summer League after last season? Come on now. Second-year guys usually go play again unless they're Rookie of the Year or something.
Yeah, this is the way I look at this with Scoot Henderson. I'm glad, personally, that he's not going to be at Summer League. I don't want him to play in those games against those players at Summer League because I do think it's dangerous. And the reason why is very simple. You have players on the floor in Summer League who are fighting, scratching, clawing. They will do anything that is necessary to make an NBA roster. And unfortunately, Scoot's got a big name or carries a big name for a young player in the NBA, and especially coming out of G League Ignite. People know who he is, and they might want to make an example out of him by trying to make a name for themselves and making another NBA team. So personally, for me, I don't want him there. I don't want him on the floor there. And I don't believe that Summer League action is going to be a make or break for a guy like Scoot Henderson. It's going to be so many other things outside of Summer League. But I'll say this, Godfather. I think he played in a total of 62 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
And of those 62, he started 32 games. I think he averaged about 14 points per game to go along with 38% shooting from the floor, 32% shooting from three, and averaged about 3.4 turnovers per game. Now, if you're not going to participate in Summer League and you come out this year in year number 2 and you're turning it over 4 times a game and you're shooting 38% and you're connecting on 32% of your threes, fans are going to go crazy because they're going to be like, hey, wait a second. You didn't participate in Summer League. You're having the same issues right now that you had at the end of last season. Where's the work?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the problem, is that it will just look bad. It's a bad look if you don't come out with dramatic improvement based off of the expectation for year one. And if we're being real, based on where he was taking Godfather at number 3, he did not live up to expectations, nowhere near. And I think there are many people within the Trailblazers organization who would admit that, not publicly, but they would acknowledge that his first season was underwhelming. Let's just put it that way. It was for me, and I think you felt the same way based on the hype coming out of the G League Ignite. So I don't have a problem with him not being there because, frankly, I don't want him there. But when you're coming off a year like he had, it just means that he has to make sure that the work that he's putting in now is going to pay off to a much better start to this upcoming season, year number 2, which is critical for his long-term success in the league. He's got to pay off and start to show dramatic improvement. That's all.
I think you make a great point. And of course, I hate saying that, Chad. But
I understand.
but that's a great point. It's kind of now, it's going to be a show-me season for him, which it was going to be anyway, let's face it.
Yeah.
But it does put a tiny bit more pressure on him not being in Summer League. It's like, did you really work as hard last summer as you should have?
Yeah.
Maybe you should have competed. Yeah, it's only 5 games, 5 or 6 games maybe. But it's competition. It's game action against other guys, some of whom are going to be in the NBA.
Now,
and you passed on that.
Now, fans, it's important they know this, but from everything you've been told or heard, they're pleased with his work ethic so far this summer, aren't they?
That's all I've heard, is that he's worked real hard. They're very happy with his progress. Everything's fine. He's been around, I guess. I heard today that Shaedon Sharpe is back in town. He's back working. Thought maybe he would go with the Canadian team to Vegas, where they are now working out. They started in Toronto. Shaedon worked out with them in Toronto, but apparently not in Vegas. So he's here working out. And I would assume their gym's going to get pretty busy here soon with a lot of these guys working out. They need it.
Yeah. And you know how Summer League is. We've seen guys go down there and tear it up.
Yeah.
And then they hit camp and they're terrible.
Or vice versa.
Vice versa. We've seen guys go into Summer League, play awful, Nick Batum.
Mhm.
They show up at camp, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that guy can ball.
Yeah.
So I just don't put much value in Summer League. You don't put a lot of value in second-round picks. I don't put a lot of value in Summer League action for a player supposedly of the caliber of Scoot Henderson. Now, if you're a rookie and you need some adjustment to the game, like Klingon being down there is important because it will be his first taste of physicality in the NBA and an NBA officiating, which you pointed out is critical because one of the big issues for Klingon will be staying out of foul trouble, which is tough for young bigs in the NBA because the refs,
it's
they
impossible.
don't respect him. Yeah. If he's anywhere near the action and the whistle blows, he's going to get pointed out for the foul until he can separate himself and demonstrate that he's a legit defender, and then he'll start to get the respect of the officials.
And if he complains about it, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
That's what you have to make that point with him. As a rookie, you just take the foul and move on.
Yeah.
Because if you complain, they're going to stick you with a couple more just to show you.
And just be patient because 4 or 5 years into the NBA, just like all the other stars, once you've established yourself, you can whine and cry with the best of them.
Yeah. And if you're good, it happens even sooner than that. I mean, it only takes a couple years for the really big-time guys. Referees leave them alone.
But it's funny to talk to fans because when I'm out on the golf course, just running into Blazer fans all over the place, they have one general reaction to everything that they see. And with Scoot Henderson, the general take that I got from people I talked to at the course was like, wait a second, this guy did nothing last year and he's not good enough he's too good to go down and play at Summer League. What's up with that? That's the general perception on Scoot Henderson.
I'm getting the same thing, Chad. Same thing.
You're hearing the same stuff.
Yeah, and really, Chad, I swear, I've got more questions this year from people than I have in the last 3 or 4 years. It's like, hey, how are they going to be? Do you think the trade was good? How about the draft pick? People are more inquisitive this year because I think there are more unknowns. Nobody knows what they're going to do this summer. They got some trades they probably have to make, but may not. You just don't know. And I think some people still need to be convinced that they're going to tank next year.
Now, bottom line, where I come out with Scoot not being in Summer League, this would be my guess here, Godfather. He probably, after going through the experience last year, he probably looks at Summer League based on what he's doing right now on his own time with his own people, his own trainers. They probably believe that they can get more productive work in by continuing on their current regimen than they would if he were to head down to Vegas and then have that broken up, that type of continuity in what he's doing right now. So my guess is it's probably better he doesn't go. But again, if he gets off to a slow start, then people are going to be like, wait a second, why didn't you go to Summer League?
Yeah.
It'll just be a bad look, but hopefully that won't be the case. But again, everything I've heard about Scoot, and you've heard it recently, if he doesn't make in the NBA, it won't be because he lacked work ethic. This guy grinds. Right. And that's a good sign. You want young guys that are willing to work their ass off to get to where they need to be.
And Chad, really, he's got all the physical tools. You can see that. He's an athlete like crazy, big-time athlete.
I covet his deltoids. He's got incredible shoulders.
Yeah.
For a young
Well, a guy with that kind of athleticism, you would think if he worked on his basketball skills, he could be pretty good.
Oh, by the way, Ben Golliver of the Washington Post has been putting out a lot of highlights of Cooper Flag. God, lose every single game if you have to. Whatever it takes to give yourself.
All of a sudden, you're a Cooper fan, huh?
No, I told you. It's all because of Chet Holmgren. There's a resurgence of the American-born white NBA player that I'm jacked up now. Klingon's going to be the next. We got Chet, and now Cooper Flag can continue to carry the flag that
Super Cooper
was left behind by Larry Bird. Yes, yeah. Super Cooper. He looks pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
You might want to put yourself in one of the 3 best positions to land that guy. What a delicious basketball player. He looks good. The good thing is he's going to be on TV every single game he plays this year because he's at Duke.
Right. And he pretty much does everything you'd ask a guy to do, right? He can pass, he can shoot, he guards people, decent rebounder, athletic skills, he gets up in the air.
Yeah, he does everything.
Just take care of yourself at Duke. Don't get hurt.
Yeah, don't get hurt. Don't waste anything at Duke.
Yeah.
Now, screw Duke.
Well, nobody cares about Duke anymore.
No.
Coach K's gone.
Coach K's gone. Christian Leitner's not there.
He hadn't been there for a while. Yeah.
I stopped caring about them. That group was amazing. When they had Grant Hill, Bobby Hurley, Christian Leitner.
Yeah.
That was quite a group.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. We got 2 pairs of tickets to give away for Hairfest, so we're going to do our first pair coming up at 4 o'clock. If you want to reach out to us, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We'll come back, and analytics might be having an impact on another game. We'll tell you what that is next on the Rip City Drive. Rock man. Down, down, down. It's a great song. Little Gray White for you.
It's nice.
All right, Godfather. Let's talk a little WNBA right now. It seems or would appear that they're taking the same path that we're seeing in the NBA, right, with the analytics, meaning more threes, less mid-range jumpers, either get your shots at the rim and get fouled or take threes.
Yeah, I think that the analytic holds up at whatever level of basketball you want to play. The
Meaning if you're high school, college, whatever, shoot threes and drive at the basket.
Right. It holds up with fourth graders. See, the problem with fourth graders, though, is they don't make many threes. They can shoot them all night, but they won't make many. I'm not equating this with fourth graders, but the problem in the WNBA is they don't make enough threes. And that's getting to be a problem for them because the games, and you know yourself, Chad, when you're seeing an NBA game where the two teams are not making threes, it's the worst game you'll ever watch.
No question.
Just clanging the ball back and forth, throwing up garbage from the outside that's not going in. It's a terrible game.
And we're frustrated because we're like, wait a second, you're not making your threes tonight. Why not change up your attack and try to drive at the basket or look for the mid-range or something else to get your offense going? But they don't do it. They probably figure, heck, if we continue to jack up threes, we'll make a few more and the points will add up.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's annoying.
It's very annoying. And that's, in the NBA, that is the answer. You keep taking them because with your talent, you're eventually going to make them. Mm-hmm. And it'll be that odd night once in a while where you don't, and then you lose that night. You just write it off.
Even if you have a night where you shoot 28% from downtown, but you put up so many threes, you made 15.
Yeah.
Then that's still going to put you in the ballpark for a potential victory.
We've seen it over and over, Chad. We have seen that thing happen so many times.
Well, give me an example. Like Caitlin Clark is considered an elite three-point shooter, right? That's what she's known for. But she's not an elite three-point shooter based on percentage right now in her rookie season of the WNBA.
She's had a problem with it. And people keep saying what a great three-point shooter she is. But the fact is she's shooting 33.1% from three, which is just 1/10 of a point above where you have to be to make a three-pointer worth anything. I mean, you have to make at least 33% of them to have them, otherwise it's just not productive at all. And she's not shooting well overall either. She's overall field goal percentage is 39.3, which is not good.
No. And a lot of that could be, as you mentioned before, one, better defenders in the WNBA.
Yeah.
And not exactly the best talent surrounding her on the team currently.
I'm sure to win games, she's probably having to take a lot of shots that she wouldn't normally want to take.
Yeah. I have noticed that, and you pointed this out long before she was drafted, but she's an elite passer with great vision.
Absolutely.
But it's tough because she's trying to set up teammates that aren't so good, and she's having to hoist shots based on the defense and the way they're playing her from probably a little bit deeper than what she's comfortable with on a regular basis. And as a result, you get the low percentage.
And to be fair to her, she's averaging 5 turnovers a game, but I would say a couple of those are just teammates who can't handle her passes.
Okay, so whether it's the WNBA or the NBA, what would be your recommendation for teams instead of just sticking with the low percentage threes if you're having a cold night or you're not making the shots? What are some different things you can do with your offense to have success?
All right, Chad. The big thing in the WNBA is size matters more than it does the NBA. If you have a big down low, you're crazy not to go to her because you can work the boards if you have size. And you see Angel Reese, good offensive rebound, not so good at finishing, but half of her offensive rebounds come from her own misses. She's standing underneath the basket playing the way I used to play when I was in the 8th grade playing against 4th graders. Just throw it up, throw it up, throw it up until you make it. And that's what she's been able to do. No offense to her, but it shows you that overall in that league, they don't have a great deal of size. But when you have a 6'5" or a 6'6" post, get the ball inside because you're going to have a high percentage of those shots go in, and it's very confounding for the other team that can't guard somebody that big. So I would say that and get better because, look, in the WNBA, you're playing with a smaller basketball, which is lighter, and your threes are actually at certain points of the arc 1.5 feet closer than the NBA threes. So that matters.
And you know what it's like watching a game where teams continue to hoist threes and miss?
Oh,
It's deflating.
yeah.
Not only for the teams, but as a fan watching, you keep waiting for the big runner for something to happen, and all you're getting is a bunch of clanks.
Yeah. It's a very, very boring game.
Oh.
We've seen it too many times. It's just, and I do think the more you take, eventually you'll get better at it. I'm sure of that. And I'm sure they must be taking more in practice now than they ever have. But what was that? I had a stat on that, Chad. It was crazy stat, too. Of the 12 WNBA teams, 7 of them are shooting 33.2% or less on threes for the year. Man, that's not paying off for you. That's really not doing you much good.
That might be below Alfru Aminu
Oh, yeah.
percentage.
I believe it probably is. It's close.
It's not good.
They're probably not hitting the side of the backboard, though, on those corner threes. The easy ones.
Oh, my goodness.
But, and that's why I'm not all in on the WNBA like a lot of people are. And I admit it. I'm not going to try and sell you something that I'm not believing in, because a lot of people now, oh, gosh, I watch WNBA all the time. Well, good luck. I'm not going to tell you not to. I'm just saying why I don't watch it. Too many turnovers, too many missed threes.
Well, and that's really what it's all about for any type of, sporting action that you might be trying to get into. If you, like, the hard part for me with Formula One, and, Steve's been trying to convert me, and I'm getting into the races, and I like the technology and some of the drivers, but, for the longest time, I'd watch races, I'd be like, no one's going to be able to get around Verstappen. No one can pass him.
Yeah. Well,
It's like a boat race. It's like, what's up with this? Where's the action?
yesterday's race you should have watched. Big time race.
It was
One of
money.
the best I've ever seen. Yeah. Partly because my guy Lewis Hamilton won. I like
Lewis
Lewis
Hamilton's a cool dude.
He is. I think he's the coolest guy out there. And he beat him just by a second and a half, I think. But he got him on his home course in England. And that was a big deal. He's the only guy to ever win 9 races on the same course.
It's pretty impressive.
He's won there 9 times.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like, who's got the position? Oh, Verstappen. That's over already.
Yeah, I know. And the problem they need to make their courses wider,
Yeah.
so that you can pass
More
more
opportunity
on.
for pass.
Yeah, they're just so narrow that it's really hard to pass.
Well, where's that? The one race, is it Monte Carlo?
Yeah.
You can't pass on that.
No,
It's
that's
too narrow.
It's a street race, and there's very few places.
Oh, you
on
went
there.
to Monte Carlo.
I did. I've seen the course, and I mean, it's hard. If you're in traffic and you're going one way and the other guy's going the other, it's kind of hard that way. And so, on a racetrack with, when they're going 175 miles an hour, it's tough to pass.
What do we got here, Shacker? At first, I thought it was
Creed.
Tesla. Creed?
Yeah.
Well,
Travis's favorite.
Yeah. Travis isn't here, so it's okay. Crank up the Creed. All right, we'll keep things rolling. We'll come back. We got a pair of tickets for Hairfest to give you. We'll do that next. We'll also mention this documentary about the Wrecking Crew. Highly suggest you check it out on Amazon Prime, which is amazing. And then we got to talk about ESPN's just missing the mark on their coverage.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Terrible.
Be better, ESPN. Be better.
Yeah, good luck.
All right, 4 o'clock chat here. Deni Avdija was introduced to Rip City today over at the practice facility. He was asked to describe his game.
Passionate. Definitely, you can see the passion for winning, for playing basketball. I mean, I'm always making the right play, trying to make the right play as much as I can. I'm very team-friendly,
Avdija was acquired from the Wizards on the draft day trade involving Malcolm Brogdon. From the NFL, Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton has been suspended 8 games for violating the league's conduct policy stemming from an arrest for domestic violence. On the diamond, both Seattle and Houston have dropped back-to-back games. Seattle's leading the West down to just 2 games. The M's will open up a series in San Diego against the Padres tomorrow. That first pitch at 6:40. From college hoop, UConn and head coach Dan Hurley have agreed to a new 6-year deal worth $50 million. Keegan Bradley has been named the U.S. captain for the 2025 Ryder Cup team. More of the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad coming at you right now. We're going to give away a pair of tickets for Hairfest. All right, Hairfest, the mother of all tribute festivals, is coming to Canby, Oregon, July 18th through the 20th. And the man that puts this together, Jason Feldman, is going to join Dwight and I in studio tomorrow. We have a pair of tickets to give away right now. So I think we should do it, Godfather. How does that sound to you?
Let's go.
All right, if you would like a pair of tickets for Hairfest, we'll take the first caller through right now at 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. You can check out Hairfest, the mother of all tribute festivals, July 18th through the 20th at Canby, Oregon. If you would like a pair of tickets, call now, 503-248-0620. Buxton! 503-248-0620. React. Kaiser! Grants Pass! McMinnville!
Banks.
Redmond! Banks! Woodburn, Boring,
Donald,
Milwaukee, Hermiston, Central Point. React to us now, 503-248-0620.
Seaside,
LeGrand, Cornelius, Monmouth, Cottage Grove, North Bend, Malala,
Newport,
Sweet Home, Florence, Sutherland, Staten, Scappoose, Madras, React, Umatilla, Junction City, Brookings, Talent.
Talent.
If you're in the prison, Sheridan.
Yeah, get a weekend pass for the Airfest.
Jason Bond requested, he goes, I love it when you guys start calling out the cities on giveaways. You got to get a Buxton in there. I was like, we can do that. Yeah. He requested a Buxton. Great. Now my pipes are destroyed, but enjoy Hairfest, my friends. 503-248-0620. Now, I do want to talk for a moment, Godfather. By the way, thank you for being the good friend that you are and saying, hey, have you seen The Wrecking Crew on Amazon Prime? And it's been out a while. I have not seen it, but I watched it once you recommended it to me. And for you music lovers out there, it's a must-see. The Wrecking Crew, just a little background for you, was a loose collective of American session musicians based in Los Angeles whose services were employed for a great number of studio recordings in the 60s and 70s, including hundreds of top 40 hits. The musicians were not publicly recognized at the time, but were viewed with reverence by industry insiders. They're now considered one of the most successful and prolific session recording units in music history. Most of the players associated with the Wrecking Crew had formal backgrounds in jazz or classical music. The group had no official name in its early years, and it remains a subject of contention when they exactly were first referred to as the Wrecking Crew. Drummer Hal Bain may have first used this name as early as the late 60s. The name was in common use by April of 81 when Hal Bain used it in an interview with Modern Drummer magazine. The name became even more widely known when Blaine used it in a 1990 memoir, attributing it to the older musicians who felt that the group's embrace of rock and roll was going to wreck the music industry. Some of Blaine's colleagues corroborated his account, while guitarist and bassist Carol Kay contended that they were called the Click. Another unofficial name was the First Call Gang, sometimes used in the 1950s for an early version of the group headed by bassist Ray Pullman that featured some of the same musicians. Now, some of the big names involved in the Wrecking Crew Godfather, and this is, of course, usually at Gold Star Studios in L.A. back in the 60s, Don Randy, Al D. Laurie, Carol Kay, who's an incredible bassist, Bill Pittman, Tommy Tedesco, Irving Rubens, Roy Caton, Jay Miglori, Hal Bain, Steve Douglas, and Ray Pullman. And the documentary goes into great length on all of them. And I came away in love with Carol Kay for just her storytelling, how great of a bassist that she was. But it's amazing how many big artists, and whether it was Cher or Glenn Campbell or some of the other big artists, they all loved them to death with the work that they did in the studio. And so if you're a music lover, it just takes you on a nice little journey. You can sit back and enjoy it. And Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys, he speaks with great reverence in regards to that group because he employed them and he used them extensively on their albums.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think, Chad, we talked about this earlier, the idea that the Beach Boys were touring so much in those days, out there piling up the money on tour. They didn't have time to get in the studio and do an album. So the instrumentals were put together largely by the Wrecking Crew. Yeah. And I know the stories were told that some of the guys in the Beach Boys said, I'd rather be playing that music myself. That's not that. Of course, Brian brought them into the studio to hear the Wrecking Crew, and those guys ended up just shaking their heads and said, no, let's just let these guys handle it. We couldn't do that.
No, they're too good.
Yeah, they're way too good.
Classically trained, but they embrace rock and roll. And back in the early days, most of the music artists, the record companies, everything was based out of New York. And then they got that swell and that push where people hit the West Coast. Yeah. And the Beach Boys became big, and the music industry just ballooned out there. And that's where people wanted to go, was California.
And, Chad, when they started, nobody kind of knew what rock and roll was. It was still that new that, like, is that rock and roll or is that? What exactly is it? And
a lot of the classically trained musicians, especially the jazz artists, they thought rock and roll was a bunch of phooey.
Passing fad is what a lot of them thought, I think. Yeah.
And I see that a lot with jazz artists. They, because they're so skilled and so trained, they have a difficult time embracing those who are not.
There's an arrogance there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, they hate Kenny G, too, because he's not classically trained. He doesn't do things quite the way they do it, but he became a smashing success and made a lot of money, and so they're pissed off at him.
Yeah, and I think that they're a little jealous of the amount of money he's made.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, it's usually a money, jealousy type deal. There's no question about it. But the Wrecking Crew it was awesome.
Recommend the doc. I mean, it's really worth watching if you're a music fan at all.
Now, the only thing we got to pray for is that Jay Graydon, great session musician in his time, like the Wrecking Crew, has worked on so many different albums with so many different artists. He's phenomenal. He is trying to get a doc put together for the session musicians and all the work that was done in the late 70s, early 80s when all these great albums came out, the yacht rock stuff. And so he's working on that right now, and I want to see a doc on that badly, because that would include Toto and those guys, Graydon, all the other, Foster, all the great artists that came through L.A. during that time. And you had all these great artists jamming into one studio because they're trying to get their albums made.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It reminds me of the one that was done on the Backup Singers. Did you see that one? That was really good, too.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of backup singers who were given just the right opportunity at the right time from a big artist, and then they're able to go and parlay that into their own career. Mm-hmm. I like that. Sheryl Crow was a backup singer for Don Henley before she got her first break.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit about ESPN. I know this drives you crazy, and it probably does a lot of other people, but this weekend was a prime example. They spent so much time covering stuff. A big nothing burger with Bronny James, who had 4 points in his Summer League debut.
Yeah. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Then I turned on the TV last night just to see SportsCenter because I wanted to see Wimbledon highlights. Huge upset at Wimbledon with Coco Gauff getting beat in straight sets. And so I wanted to see that. But here comes the first slide. Top story of the day. Angel Reese sets record 13 straight double-doubles. Now, first of all, don't banner a story about setting a record if nobody knows what the record is in the first place. Okay, if I'd have come up to you yesterday and say, what do you think the record is in the WNBA for consecutive double-doubles? Who knows? Who cares?
I would have been like, what do you care?
Yeah, triple-doubles is one thing. Double-doubles, and you know I'm not big on double-doubles. If you're an inside player, you should be getting a double-double most nights.
I agree.
That's your job. But anyway, that's their top story. Second top story, Asia Wilson now has, 4,300 and some points, most in franchise history, something like that. Their top two stories are WNBA. On a day where there's a huge Wimbledon upset, there was a big upset. Max Verstappen gets beat in the British Grand Prix, and tremendous baseball action with the Red Sox beating the Yankees in another series, which was huge. Also, All-Star Game, baseball All-Star Game rosters being filled out. Summer League stuff with, decent enough performances there, but they chose those highlights because they're carrying WNBA games, and they're also a part now of really pushing hard for the WNBA. There's a big PR push coming on the WNBA games right now, which is fine, but I'm not sure that whatever they do is the top story of the night.
Well, this is the way it's always been for me, and I've been watching SportsCenter for many and many years. On any given day, when I tune in, I want the hottest stories first. Like, for instance, Verstappen getting beat, that's a pretty big deal. The upsets at Wimbledon, big deal. Stuff going down in baseball. Like, give that stuff to me first, but they don't. They come out with this crap off the top.
Yeah.
And I got to wait for the stuff that really matters.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, their other big thing was the one-on-one interview with LeBron James. That was a big thing to him, too.
Oh, we're going to hear from that coming up
I
next,
know.
too.
And that's like, come on, really?
The
More?
Lakers have been on a tear of late, just pushing out a bunch of poppycock and nonsense.
It's a three-ring circus, man.
I mean, you got to be some type of a buffoon to believe the crap that they're pushing on us right now.
Lie after lie. Really?
I mean, J.J. Redick stood up there at his press conference and flat out said that he and LeBron did not discuss the coaching job. Now, what planet do you live on if you believe that?
Yeah. And also that if Bronny's name was John Smith, he would have been drafted in the same spot.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with the fact that his dad was LeBron.
Sure.
I mean, that's just some bull crap right there. Like, what are you talking about?
Bull jive.
It is bull jive. The thing is, like, I don't care about the nepotism. But don't pretend like it's not. They drafted him because you wanted him. That's why they drafted Bronny James in the second round.
That's why they hired J.J. Redick, too, because you wanted him.
Yeah, and you and J.J. talked about the job before he got the job. Don't try to sell me on this nonsense. And don't come out and tell me that John Smith would have been drafted if his name wasn't Bronny James. Because that's all bull crap, man. It's just a bunch of bull. And quit trying to rob stuff away from MJ about his Defensive Player of the Year award.
Yeah.
Just because you're busy trying to tell people how great you are.
Yeah.
Just stop with the nonsense.
Yeah. Even if you're trying to convince somebody how good you are, don't tear somebody else down to do that.
You
That's
know
not
how
a good
often Larry
policy.
Bird had to tell someone how good he was? Never.
Yeah.
Never
Same
did.
for Mike. Michael Jordan never went around talking about being the greatest of all
No,
time.
and he would never do that.
No. Still doesn't.
He doesn't care what you think.
No.
All right, so we'll hear from LeBron coming up next. Yeah, I mean, it's too much, man. I just can't take it. The Laker hype machine, the Clutch Sports, LeBron hype machine, Bronny James hype machine. It's all bull crap. And J.J. Redick's full of it, too. All of it. All of them are full of it. Bull crap, bull crap, bull crap.
Bull jive.
Bull jive.
Yes.
And that's coming up next on the Rip City Drive. I wish I had a singing voice like Bill Wither. So smooth.
Withers, isn't it? With an S on the end?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought you said Wither.
Leave it to Godfather to get hung up on semantics like normal.
Semantics. Okay.
There's only an S if it's plural, right? Is that the rule? If there's two of them.
Whatever his name is, he sings very nice. That's the whole point.
I didn't know he did this song.
Yeah, Wither would be what my girl was doing out on the golf course this past week.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh, gosh. We were flirting with disaster out there.
I'm an idiot. I just think I can do whatever, and the reality is now that I can't, getting closer to 49. But, man, it's so nice out there. I refuse not to take advantage of the nice weather because when it's gone, I'm going to be very sad. It feels great out there right now. It's unbelievable. And the body loosens up so much quicker when it's hot.
I know.
Oh,
So much easier that way.
yeah. There's
I
no
got
question.
a great tip from Roger, though. I got to tell you, when I was all done, we were sitting in there having a cold drink, and Roger says, "Hey, you kind of like the physical exercise of bending over and pulling your ball out of the cup all the time?"
I heard him say that.
Yeah, I said, "Not particularly, no." He said, "Well, get one of these." And he's got one of those suction cups on the end of his putter stick, so he just sticks it down there and it grabs the ball and pulls it out. I used to have one of those, but it kind of got broken down because my putter, the grip on it is not round. It's kind of pyramid or oval shaped.
Yeah.
So it doesn't fit on there very well, and it finally just kind of fell off. But I ordered one yesterday off Amazon.
Well, by the time I got to hole 36 on the 4th, I felt like using one of those little gadgets right there. I didn't want to bend at the legs. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do anything. I was gassed.
I said, I was using one, but I kind of felt like kind of a softy for using that. He goes, "Yeah, well, we had one of our big tough guys yesterday bend over to get his ball and couldn't straighten up again." So he said, you see that a few times and you think, why bother?
That Diet Coke I got after the round, after I'd taken my shower,
Yeah.
it might have been the best Diet Coke in the history of my life.
Isn't that funny how that works?
When you're so thirsty and it hits your parched lips, you're like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah. And don't try to give me a Diet Pepsi in those moments. Might make me sick. No offense. No offense.
I still detest Yankee Stadium. The great Yankees offering Pepsi products. Losers.
They're not the mega franchise you thought they were if they're using Pepsi products, right? That's not a dynasty anymore.
No, you can't do that. You can't be the Yankees and offer a subpar beverage like that. It's very disappointing.
Subpar beverages, subpar on the field. That's my motto.
And they're subpar right now.
Yeah, they are.
They're like the Mariners right now, just going into the tank. The Mariners lead it in the West down to 2. They're just floundering right now. I wonder if Jerry DiPoto's paying attention, because if he is, he might want to get on the horn to get something done before the trade deadline. You buffoon.
I think their team batting average is right around the Mendoza line right now. They're hitting about 200.
Just take a look to their lineup, see what their 4 and 5 hitters are doing.
Oh, man.
It's not sustainable, I can tell you that much. By the way, Ohtani's on fire, too.
Yeah.
10 straight games with an RBI, had another bomb. He's a freak. He is a freak. He and Aaron Judge putting up ridiculous numbers right now.
Well, Judge is he hit like 316, something like that, with all those home runs. But see, he doesn't have to hit home runs. He's big and strong enough. His fly balls to left field are about 20 feet over the fence. Everybody else, he just hits the ball harder than anybody.
Yeah, that's what you said. I asked you what those guys are trying to do, and you're like, just get hard pure contact.
Yeah.
Well, Judge is doing a pretty good job of that.
Yes, he
The
is.
ball comes off his bat a little bit differently than almost everyone else.
He has a little video out talking about how he learned that in the batting cage. He said, "I'm boring to watch in the batting cage because I don't hit long home runs." He focuses on hitting the ball hard up the middle. Then you get in games, and it's a little different. His swing is different. But he doesn't just sit there and crank them out like a lot of these guys do.
All right, let's take a listen to LeBron James, and then we'll dive into the Lakers PR fiasco that's going on right now. But Dave McMenamin of ESPN sat down with LeBron to discuss Bronny and draft night and the whole shebang.
I think Dave's represented by Clutch Sports, by the way. That's my guess. I think he is, actually.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I'm starting to pay attention now, too, to anyone that is speaking too glowingly of LeBron, like over the top, where you know they're making an effort to let you know how great LeBron is.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do a little cross search to see what agency they might be connected with.
I'd like to know what kind of bonus they get for saying all that stuff, too.
I mean, it's just like, come on. Who do you think?
I don't
We
care
are.
who my agent is. I'm not going to prostitute myself like that unless you pay me for it. Come on.
All right, here's LeBron with Dave McMenamin.
We're going to have a chance to talk about some history in the fall.
With the 55th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James.
LeBron James and Bronny James will not only be the first teammates to be a father-son duo in league history. It's the first time it's ever happened, period. Just take me back to New York. What was that moment like for you?
It was very emotional. It was very emotional to hear. I mean, that's been his dream for quite a while. He says he wants to play in the NBA, and then he had an opportunity to talk to his agent, Rich Paul, and Rich asked him what is his ultimate goal in this whole thing. And he said, I just want to hear my name called. And for it to happen, with us all being together and him being able to hear his name called in the NBA draft, it's like a moment that we will never, ever forget.
Between the lines, to some extent, basketball is going to take care of itself.
Yeah, for
Bronny.
sure.
But outside of those lines, he's starting to have some of the same arrows slung at him that you had when you were a teenager. What's going to take for him to withstand that?
I don't know if people really understand Bronny. He doesn't care. I actually cared a little bit when I came in. I wanted people to like me, and some of the things that people were saying about me, it kind of bothered me early on in my career. I let it get to me. Bronny doesn't give a He doesn't. Bronny plays, he works his tail off. When he's done, he goes home and plays his video game. He does not care about nobody. He doesn't even listen to that stuff. He's like the complete opposite of his dad. His dad will say something.
Yeah.
Bronny does not care. Like me personally, when I was coming up, I had no choice. I literally had no choice. I had to make it out. Like I had no choice. I had to make it out for me, my mom, my family. Bronny has all the choices in the world. So it's like a whole nother, people don't understand how hard that is and the commitment. For him to be coming out of heart surgery less than a year ago, for him to be able to be in the NBA, the kid he's special, but he doesn't care. It doesn't bother him.
There you go. There's LeBron James and the hype machine that continues around Bronny being drafted because he deserved it. And he would have been drafted even if his name was Jonathan Smith, and on and on and on. But, I think LeBron actually was a little bit honest there in regards to.
It's the only truth he's told in weeks.
Yes, LeBron is hypersensitive to criticism and his standing all time in the NBA. It's obviously something that he worries about and thinks about all the time because he created a museum for himself, and he's got his agency and the people that work for the agency creating a narrative around his game and his standing all time because he wants to be known as the greatest of all time, and he's willing to stop at nothing to be able to get to that point. So they're trying to control the narrative on everything.
Yeah.
And that's why you have all of this BS. One, we all know that he picked the coach. J.J. Redick was doing a podcast with LeBron, and they obviously have a friendship and a respect for one another. The Lakers are not going to go and pursue a guy unless they have LeBron's blessing.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to tell me that J.J. and LeBron did not talk about the head coaching job before he got it, but that's what they said.
I know.
And the reason why they said it, at least from my understanding, would be that LeBron doesn't want to be attached to the coach if J.J. Redick turns out to be a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
That's really
Wasn't
what it comes
my
down
idea.
to.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with that. I
Yeah.
have nothing to do with those type of decisions. But the reality is we know that he does, not just with the coach, but also with personnel decisions on the team.
Yeah.
He's heavily involved, but he doesn't want anyone to know that because he doesn't want the criticism to come back on him because he fears it could hurt his legacy. And the whole stuff with Bronny James, of course Bronny got drafted in the second round because LeBron James demanded that his son be drafted by the Lakers. It was part of the condition of him returning and signing a new 3-year deal. And if you sign Bronny, I'll take a few million off the top so that we can stay under that second apron so we can have some flexibility to work with. It was all part of the agreement. But they come out selling you on the whole idea that it wasn't orchestrated. They didn't have anything to do with it, that the Lakers saw plenty of growth potential in Bronny's game. I mean, that's a bunch of phooey right there. He couldn't even be the best player on his team in college at USC, which is not one of the top schools in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
He should have gone back to school for another year. I don't have a problem with Bronny being drafted by the Lakers and having an opportunity to play with his dad. I have a problem with people trying to present something that's not true. Just come out and say what it is. Yeah, I picked J.J. Redick as coach because that's the guy that I believe can get us over the top. Yes, I told the Lakers to draft Bronny because I wanted to play with my son on this team. If you just come out and say it, I'll accept it. Okay, that's fine. But don't come out and try to and lie about it and act like it's not what we all know it is, because it's nonsense.
But you know who he's really lying to? Bronny. That's who he's lying to. He wants his son to believe that he was taken there because that's where he belongs. He doesn't want his son thinking, yeah, I was taken there because my dad made him do it. And I think he thinks he's got his son fooled, which he probably doesn't.
And I would argue this, just what I've learned in life is very simple, that anything in life that of value comes through some type of ground cover work process. There's sacrifice that's involved in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the things that mean the most to me are things that required sacrifice. So LeBron talked about what it meant for him to sit down and be with family as his son's name was called in the second round as he was drafted. But does it really mean that much if it was orchestrated and not technically earned? What's the value in that?
It doesn't mean as much.
So I feel like
that's the danger of doing it, right?
Well, that's the problem. So I feel like Bronny would have been better off had he taken his own path instead of his father manipulating the path. Mm-hmm. Even if he would have had to earn his way on as a walk-on type player, an undrafted free agent, and worked his way onto a team, or gone back to school for another year and then earned on his own being drafted in the first or second round, I feel like that would have more value and mean more to him long-term than it would to have his father step in to manipulate the situation.
They seem to be so into that moment in New York, in the green room, where he heard his name announced, and like I think that meant more to LeBron, probably than it did to Bronny. For him, it was some sort of validation for being a good father or something. He created another basketball player in his image. But really, long term, would have been much better to stay that extra year in college, go somewhere where you can play all the time as a point guard, because at his height, that's probably the only position he can play in the NBA. Be the point guard, learn how to handle the ball a little better, be a better passer. But then just progress into the league on your own, whatever that takes. Maybe you got to go to Europe or something.
But even if he worked on his own and didn't make it in the league because he wasn't good enough, at least you could look back and if you can answer a simple question, did I give everything that I had personally to be the best I could? Yes. Well, then it doesn't matter if you made it or not. You gave it your best.
Well, he's not in the same position LeBron was. His dad said, I had to make it out. I had to support my family. I had to get there.
That's a powerful force for a lot of these athletes.
That's part of the reason he got as good as he did, because he had to. Bronny doesn't have to. Bronny's probably driving a Rolls already. He's going to have all the money he needs. His dad can leave him 1/20th of what he's worth, and the kid will be rich forever.
Well, in addition to the nonsense with the hype machine, the other good news surrounding the Lakers is that DeMar DeRozan is now signed with the Kings.
Yeah, right. That's good news for Blazer fans, quite possibly.
Klay Thompson is in Dallas. So all of the key names that they were focusing on, they're gone.
Yeah.
And guess who's sitting there available right now?
Yeah.
His name's Jeremy Grant, who, based on reports, the Lakers have interest in. So Joe Cronin, by playing it slow and being patient, has put himself in a position now to where the Lakers probably have a certain level of desperation to go out there and add to their team. So now Joe Cronin can stick to his guns and be like, hey, we're willing to give up Grant, and we'll even take back a couple of your expiring deals, but we need a couple of draft picks to do it.
Yeah.
And those 2 draft picks, based on LeBron's career, are probably going to be valuable draft picks when they come up to be, because the Lakers more than likely will suck, and then the Blazers are in a good position. So I actually like the way things have played out in the market in terms of what the Trailblazers have to offer for teams like the Lakers out there who are growing desperate.
Yeah, because even some of the tradable assets that the Lakers could have gotten their hands on, they're gone too. I noticed just today, San Antonio traded for Harrison Barnes. Now, I always liked Harrison Barnes, good player.
Like him.
I think he's over the hill now. But for the Lakers, where he wouldn't have to play big minutes, he's a good team guy. He'll make a 3 once in a while. He can probably still guard some people. He would have been a better piece than what they're going to use this year anyway. So that piece is gone now too. He's gone to San Antonio. So they have to do something, don't they? I mean, it just seems like they have to do something.
You would think so. You would think so.
They can't run it back with what they had last year.
Well, it depends on what the main motivation here is.
Yeah.
Is it about winning? Is it about trying to do whatever you can to put yourself in a position to compete in the Western Conference? Or are you happy now that you've got LeBron and Bronny and you can continue to be a headline without having to give up assets? That's really what it comes down to. LeBron or any top-line player is never going to say that, well, winning's not the top priority now. Well, we'll see what the Lakers want to do here. But Joe Cronin's in a good position when it comes to L.A. because they're desperate.
Yeah.
And he can be like, look, we'll give you Jeremy Grant, but we need those 2 picks.
Yeah. Yeah, he can wait him out. That's for sure.
Yeah. And that's the best part that Cronin has going for him right now is that there's no pressure to make a move today. The Lakers, on the other hand, are chomping at the bit because LeBron took less money. They're under that second apron, so they have some flexibility. So if they're going to add something, the question is what? And the Blazers have some vets that could be helpful. And Jeremy Grant obviously would fit in well because he shoots the 3-ball the last 2 years at over 40%. And he can defend to a certain degree, but you put him on that team, he'll get a lot of open looks. And it'll be an effective player for him. Don't you think he would mix well with the way they play?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'd be a good player for him.
Huh.
He can still run. You know, he'd get up and down the floor with those guys.
He's been a pretty big-minute, durable type player for Chauncey the last couple of years.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant's turned out to be it's been good.
I was going to say, I used my favorite expression again. He's been here 2 years on a losing team, been a good soldier, hasn't complained. Time to give him his early parole. I think early release here is in order.
Yeah.
Let him get out of here. I mean, I believe that. You know, a veteran player shouldn't have to be here more than 2 years and go through this.
No, it's tough. You get to a certain point in your career and you got money in the bank, you know, the losing gets tired. You want to have an opportunity to win, right? All right, we'll come back and we'll take a peek at Team USA. They got some players.
Yeah.
Anything less than goal would be a severe disappointment, Godfather.
Oh, yeah.
But what I do like is the brain trust and who they have leading that group. So we'll talk about that next. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Coming up at 5:20, we'll get into a Phil Knight doing his best Paul Allen to try and make sure the Ducks win a championship before he dies. Money talks, Godfather. And bull jive walks, right?
It certainly does.
All right, Godfather. Boy, Steve Kerr has got a lot of praise for the talent he's got on this Team USA roster that's getting ready to go out and start their mission for gold. What do you think about this group they've pulled together? 12 future Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no question about the talent. They've got a bevy of Hall of Famers. The big question is who's going to start? Who's going to play? You know, you can't get 12 players into a game unless you're winning by 30 usually. And they could probably do that. People are saying this roster is as good as the Dream Team, which I don't happen to agree with, and I'm sure you don't either. But they're pretty good, and they should win. No question about it. But sometimes these tournaments don't turn out the way we think they're going to turn out.
Yeah, nothing. I won't stand for any comparison to the Dream Team of '92 because, well, that was the greatest team ever assembled. I don't doubt that for a second. But I want to ask you about the international competition because you've got a couple of good points in terms of the struggles of Team USA. I guess we'll start with this, the continuity, right? It's going to be one of the big challenges for Coach Kerr and his assistant, Eric Spoelstra.
It always has been, Chad. The biggest problem has been the national teams of many, in fact, most of the other countries are together. They stay together year after year after year. And these players all take such pride in being on that roster because they're perennial underdogs. They all want to go up against the USA. They all want to beat us. That's natural. They should be that way. But those teams like Spain, Australia, even Canada is developing into that. These guys keep coming back because they want to win. We don't have that continuity here. And we get only a couple weeks practice with these guys together. And with the talent level, you figure that doesn't really matter, but it does. And these teams come in much more sophisticated offensively and defensively than the U.S. is. And they give them problems. And I can go all the way back to the 2002 FIBA World Cup when we went in on a long winning streak again. And, it wasn't our best team because a lot of guys sat out that year. Shaq didn't play, and I don't remember who else didn't play, but they still had Paul Pierce and, gosh, who did they have? Ben Wallace was their center, who in the international game, that he should probably have been a big-time player. They had Reggie Miller. I think they might have even had Iverson. I'm not sure. But they lost 3 games in those Worlds, and it was being played in Indianapolis. They had a home court advantage. So I think the enemies this year will be the continuity problem and the arrogance of U.S. teams over the years who go into these things thinking they can't possibly lose, and they're just going to go out and slaughter everybody they play.
That FIBA 2002 roster, Elton Brand, Antonio Davis, Baron Davis, Michael Finley, Rafe LaFrentz. Are the Trailblazers still paying Rafe LaFrentz, or has that ended?
I think that finally ended, yeah.
Sean Marion, Andre Miller, Reggie Miller, Jermaine O'Neal, Paul Pierce, Ben Wallace, and Jay Williams.
Just some good players on it, and not our best players.
But the other issue, aside from continuity, is the rules, right? International competition, the rules you're going to have in the Olympics are different. How does that impact the guys?
Well, they're not used to it, and they've grown up their whole lives. When the ball is sitting on the rim, whether you're on offense or defense, you don't touch it. FIBA's different. Ball sitting on the rim, you could go up and either knock it away if you're on defense or jam it if you're on offense. Our guys just instinctively don't usually do that in international play. They just haven't gotten into that rule. Now, I wouldn't mind that rule being in effect in the NBA. It would make things a lot simpler not to worry about it. But they're not used to that one. I think the game is called differently by referees. You see a lot of different things. You can't. It's a little harder to call a timeout. It's oh gosh, what else do they do? Sometimes you'll see traveling interpreted a little differently. They have the gather step. I think they do, but you'll see rule differences that our players just aren't familiar with.
All right, some of the guys that we're going to be looking at: Devin Booker, Bam Adebayo, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, and Jason Tatum. That team should win.
Lose. Yeah, they shouldn't lose. Yeah.
And you talk about the details. I'm a big fan of Steve Kerr. If there's any guy that can get a group of dudes who aren't accustomed to being around one another to play with some form of continuity and team concept, it would be Steve Kerr. And with details, rules, Eric Spoelstra, I mean,
Yeah.
Kerr and Spoelstra should be able to figure that out.
Yeah, they both have international experience. They should be able to figure it out. I just think the one thing, Chad, that the teams when the previous regime at USA Basketball always tried to pick a couple role players, guys who are really good defenders or rebounders, because they felt that's always what was missing in the past. They had stars, but they didn't have guys who could do the dirty work, the role players. And they picked some good role players over the years that worked for them. And this team won't have that. But there is just so much talent. I mean, if everything breaks down, just spread the court and give the ball to one of these guys and go one-on-one.
All right, let's go through the list here. I want to know who you think would be a good role player. Bam Adebayo?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, he could be a good role player.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker?
No. He needs the ball.
Steph Curry? He's more of an alpha?
Yeah. But, the big thing is he doesn't need the ball, Chad. He will move without the ball. The question is, can they install an offense quick enough to get the most out of him where he can catch and shoot?
You want him on the move in the Olympics?
You absolutely do.
Anthony Davis? He's
maybe.
kind of a role guy.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Kevin Durant?
Probably not.
No.
No.
He might be option
He's going to be
one.
Probably be your top scorer.
Anthony Edwards already came out and said he's option number one on the team.
Yeah, I love that, though. And I think he was half joking.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at tweaking the media a little bit.
No question about it.
I like that. I thought it was funny.
But he's not a role player. That guy's an alpha.
Yeah.
What about Joel Embiid?
No. Sorry.
Halliburton?
Yeah, maybe. He's young enough that he'll do what they tell him to do.
Probably one of the best additions. Drew Holiday can be whatever you need him to be.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
LeBron James?
Yeah. Did you see? Somebody asked him about coming off the bench.
He laughed.
Because it's so, yeah, he just laughed like, who are you talking to?
Kawhi? He's kind of an enigma. I'm not really sure how to classify him.
I don't know what to do with him. How long can he go into this thing without getting hurt? Can he go like 5 or 6 games?
Probably not.
Yeah. Yeah, let's be real.
Jason Tatum, maybe with his experience this year with the Celtics, maybe he can be more of a...
He likes having the ball, too, but you might be right because he'll be a catch-and-shoot guy if you need him to be.
I got to be frank. I don't give a rip. That group right there should win the gold.
Yeah, you're right. There's no question. No question.
And Steph Curry could go wild over there. He could.
Yeah.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here. That's Dwight. I'm Chad. We'll come back. We're going to hear some cuts from Deni Avdija, the newest Trailblazer, his press conference. He was introduced to the Rose City today over at the practice facility. Godfather was there. We'll hear from Deni and get Dwight's reaction to that. You got the Rip City Drive. Coming up at 5:20, we'll talk about Phil Knight going hog wild on NIL. It's pretty awesome. Every kind of people. Dun, 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 dun. All right, it's 5 o'clock chat here. Deni Avdija introduced at the practice facility today.
You know, I embraced it. At the beginning, it's a little shocking. DC been my home for 4 years. You know, I had some great moments with the Wizards, but now I'm in a different place. I was a little shocked. It's tough to leave home, but I'm excited to start a new chapter, really take this organization to the next level.
We got more on Deni Avdija coming up next on the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. We'll hear more of his reaction on the trade to the Portland Trailblazers draft day trade involving Malcolm Brogdon with the Trailblazers and Wizards. Steelers cornerback Cameron Sutton suspended 8 games, violating the league's conduct policy. Seattle and Houston have dropped back-to-back games. The M's lead in the West down to just 2 games. They open up a series in San Diego tomorrow against the Padres. Dan Hurley and UConn have agreed to a new deal, 6 years and $50 million. Keegan Bradley named the U.S. captain for the 2025 Ryder Cup team. I can't lie, Godfather. I love me some Shaka.
Oh, who doesn't? Come on.
Nice work, Shacker. All right, we have another pair of tickets to give away. Oh, by the way, did someone from Buxton win the first pair of tickets for Hairfest today?
No,
Shacker?
Oregon City.
Oh.
Oregon City. I was hoping for Buxton. All right, so if you would like a pair of tickets for Hairfest coming up in Canby, July 18th through the 20th, it is the mother of all tribute festivals. We'll talk with Jason Feldman in studio tomorrow. But if you'd like to go and you'd like to be there, you can win a pair of tickets right now. Just call 503-248-0620. First caller through will get a pair of tickets for Hairfest, July 18th through the 20th out in Canby, 503-248-0620. I cannot yell any more towns' names because my vocal cords were wrecked by that earlier episode. I went through a number of, I almost covered all the different towns and cities in the state of Oregon, though, Godfather. I was proud of my efforts.
You did very well.
All
There's
right.
a lot more towns for us to get to, though.
503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Hairfest coming to Canby, July 18th through the 20th, the mother of all tribute festivals. If you'd like a pair of tickets, just fire away right now, 503-248-0620. We're going to hear some clips from Deni Avdija here in a moment, but you were over at the practice facility today. Just, some of your takeaways on the acquisition and the way he presented himself to Rip City for the first time.
Yeah, I thought, told his story very well, and it's an interesting story. And at the same time, I think modest, not calling a lot of attention to himself, soft-spoken.
Wait a second, a modest NBA player?
Yeah, well, he'll get over it, I'm sure. But he's a guy who has made a lot of progress. He's come a long way since he entered the league 4 years ago. And I think he's going to be a mature player, a player who works hard and doesn't call attention to himself too much, but gets the job done every night at both ends of the floor.
That's great. I'm excited about this move because I think he's a darn good basketball player. I also like his age at only 23.
Mm-hmm.
But I like, in today's game, Godfather, I like guys that can do a little bit of everything. Plus defender, can shoot the three, can run the floor.
Likes to be a playmaker, too.
Yeah, he's a playmaker, so he's going to make the game easier for his teammates. I just like guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the way he presented himself, too. Very unassuming, but he's worked hard. And, he's paid a price to get to where he's at right now. And so I want to see guys like him succeed because it wasn't handed to him. There was no nepotism involved in his pathway to the NBA. None. Zero.
Yeah.
He had to work for it. So I like guys like that.
He earned it.
He did. He absolutely did earn it, and I can't wait to see what he can do. But in today's game, I mean, think about the things that you need, right? You got to be able to shoot the three. He can do that. You've got to be able to play make, especially in today's game. And I think that's the way Chauncey Billups wants to play, with guys sharing the basketball. And if you can help and be a plus defender, that's nice. You notice this too, but, he's a taller guy, but he's not your bulky power forward type. He's definitely a small forward.
Yeah.
More agile in the way he's built, right?
He looks to be a guy who is very agile and probably quick. Not carrying a lot of extra lbs, I'll tell you that. He's thin, and that's a greyhound type. That's the guy who can run a little bit.
Unfortunately for a guy like Avdija, he doesn't get the red carpet reception that you get for the number one draft pick. Guys like that are a little bit different. You come in a trade. You're not the number one overall draft pick. They don't handle it quite the same.
Yeah, he wasn't in the auditorium of the practice facility. He was up against a wall in the gym doing his first interview.
Well, he talked about what it's like getting my computer is being very difficult right now, Godfather. I feel like it's on dial-up right now, and it's going through a very slow process.
Really?
And so we're just going to have to wait and be patient for a moment. We're going to have to be patient like Joe Cronin and waiting for the right deal from the Lakers for Jeremy Grant. But here's a couple of different things. He was asking about, the Blazers. What does he know about this group? Here's what he had to say.
I don't have pre-existing relationships with anybody, but the players welcome me pretty good. I've been seeing them around the facility, so everybody's smiling, telling me congratulations.
I like that. That was an honest answer. It's like, hey, I don't have any pre-existing relationships. I don't know any of the guys, but I'm here, and that he knows that process will come along pretty well. Here's what he had a chance to talk about what it's like getting traded on draft day.
Well, I was sleeping, so when I heard about it, I woke up in the middle of the night and figured out I got traded. So I didn't go back to sleep that night. But yeah, it was pretty shocking.
Were you in D.C.?
No, I wasn't at home. I was in Israel. Yeah.
Wow.
I was in Israel. It was like 2 a.m. Woke up. They let me know. Woj bomb things. So yeah, it took me time to embrace it, but now when I'm like over it, I feel like I'm in a great spot, and I'm very happy.
He found out through a Woj bomb, Godfather.
It's totally unacceptable that somebody in a front office somewhere decided they would call Wojnarowski before they called the guy they traded.
It's pretty wild. He was asked, what he's excited about.
First of all, for the fans, I heard there's a very, very good fan base here, so I'm excited to be a part. And the culture, you're in a different state. You're in the West Coast now, so seeing the city, seeing how people interact, and being a part of Portland is exciting.
It's brand new. Totally new city, different part of the country.
Yeah.
That's wild. Wake up one day and you're in a different city, and now you got to go about finding a home and figuring out what it's all about.
Yeah, it's all those personal things. And I remember Klingon at his first news conference, I'm not sure if it's his girlfriend or his wife. I think girlfriend was there too. And they were talking about living arrangements. And here it is. He's got all this stuff. He's got to move cross country. And at the same time, where's he going to live? Apartment, rental house, buy a house. What are we going to do? These are major decisions for a kid who just came out of college. And, he's probably never had a lot of money to his name. And now he does.
Well, here he is talking about his journey. I really like this. You mentioned this, but here's Deni Avdija talking about his journey to get to where he's at today.
My journey being not easy. It never was easy. Like I was never given gifts. I've always worked really hard for the things I accomplished. And since I came to the league, it's been a tough ride. I played with some really competitive and hard players. And I feel like my role has expanded with the years. And I honestly fought for every minute I saw on the court, every chance that I got to get the ball. And I try to do the best I can, and it got me here. So,
in other words, his dad's not LeBron James, and he wasn't just picked by a team because he said pick that guy right there. He had to grind.
Yeah,
and I'm a big believer that every team could use guys like that.
Yeah, he knows where he came from, and he's not going to forget it. And he's going to continue to work hard so he doesn't end up where he came from. Right?
Yeah, it's good. Guys like that are going to grind. He's going to bring atmosphere to the practices. He's very durable. He's going to show up and play every night. No nonsense. And my guess is coaching guys like Deni Avdija doesn't suck if you're a coach.
Oh, yeah. No, he's definitely a coach's player.
Here's
They'll love him.
more good insight. He understands why he got dealt.
I think they really loved me. I think I've done a lot for the organization, for the city. It was just not the timeline, I guess. You know, I did whatever I can. I gave everything I could on the floor, and you know that's part of the business. Sometimes it just doesn't get along, and I feel like we had beautiful years, and you know now I'm in a different organization, and I'm trying to get the best I can here.
So were you able to immediately just process that and get over it, or had some?
I think I matured enough in this league to understand the business side of it, to understand that it doesn't matter where you're at. At the end of the day, you playing ball, you play the game you love, and I'm a big competitive guy. I love winning. I love being around people and meeting new people. So for me, it's fun to explore a new.
There you go. I like that. Very logical approach. Hey, wasn't the timeline. They decided to make a move. He's not offended by it. He gets it.
Well, I think this is a dawning of a new era for him, too. It's a chance to come in as the starting small forward. Know he has that position. He has to go out and prove it, of course. But I think he's ready to do that now. He's got enough experience in the league. He knows what he has to do. And that's guard it, went into the floor and make some shots at the other end.
Here he is describing his game. In case you're wondering, I haven't seen Deni Avdija play. He tells you what he's all about.
Passionate. Definitely, you can see the passion for winning, for playing basketball. I mean, I'm always making the right play, trying to make the right play as much as I can. I'm very team friendly, you know. My teammates are like, I want to do the best I can to make them be better on the court. And just like hard-nosed, like trying to come do his job and just win games. That's it.
There you go. Boom. Deni Avdija. Welcome to Rip City, my friend.
Yeah. Very well regarded around the league, Chad, from everything I've gathered from the people I talked about. I didn't talk to one person who didn't say, good trade for Portland. Nice move. People like that move.
Yeah, it's a good move. 23 years old, and the guy, plus defender, can shoot, playmaker. I'm excited to see him play. I like him a lot, and I think he's going to bring a lot to the Trailblazers. We'll keep things rolling. We're going to talk some football next. It's about time the Ducks did something for Phil Knight, don't you think? I mean,
pay the man back.
Time to pay the man back.
Yeah, that bill's coming due here real quick.
I mean, that guy wants a championship badly. And you know he wants it badly, Godfather.
Talk about putting your money where your mouth is.
A lot of people talk.
Yeah.
Phil writes checks when he talks.
His money talks loud.
Oh, goodness. And we'll get to that next. Well, Godfather, the Oregon Ducks have been on an absolute heater on the recruiting trail of late.
Wonder why.
They went out and landed the number 1 wide receiver, DeCorian Moore. They got 5-star corner, the number 4 cornerback in the country, Dorian Brew. They landed the number 3 tight end, Deshaun Brame. They got Jordan Davison, the number 5 running back, and also Josiah Sharma, the number 7 defensive lineman. And that's just some of their wins. But what we're seeing with the Ducks is that they're recruiting with the best of the best right now. And the move to the Big Ten, having access to better scheduling, better TV exposure, a ton more money, that in combination with being Nike U and having Phil Knight supporting your university, I mean, we're seeing the fruits of their labor. And their head coach has been killing it.
Yeah. The staff is full of recruiters. That's what everyone said when they were hired. Yeah, he might be a good line coach, but he's even better recruiter, you know.
Well, credit to Rob Mullins, because when the Ducks were in a position to make the coaching hire, there were a lot of people that wanted them to go with someone who had ties to the university, because they were tired of hiring guys who would come in like Taggart and Cristobal, find a better spot to go back home and leave and take a job. But Mullins stuck to his guns. He knew in order to win, they didn't need to look to their own past. They needed to go out and find another young, hot, big-time recruiter. And that's what Dan Lanning is. He's still growing and learning as a coach, as a head coach on the sideline in terms of, game planning and decision-making. But college football is won in the recruiting game.
Yeah.
And right now the Ducks are absolutely annihilating competition when it comes to recruiting. But this piece that was put up on Barstool, it all stems from comments made by Rick Neuheisel, who is an analyst now and a darn good one. I love Rick Neuheisel, and former coach. And what he said was, he was at a recent coaching event, and Neuheisel said, "It's no secret Phil Knight is supplying Oregon unlimited NIL resources." Rick said Phil is 86. He desperately wants to see a championship, so they're willing to pay whatever it takes. What else do you need? If you're a big-time college football program and you've got a billionaire who's backing you and says, whatever it takes. And that's really what it comes down to. That's what Boone Pickens was giving to Oklahoma State. Whatever it takes. What do you need? You need more money? You need new facilities? We need more money for NIL? I'll pump in whatever is necessary.
Yeah.
And Phil Knight's got the power, and he's got the resources to be able to do that.
Yeah, he certainly has the checkbook. And there's no salary cap on NIL.
No, you just keep feeding the beast.
Spend as much as you want. I mean, I could see a day when they've got an offensive line that they're paying $1 million to.
Well,
quarterback, couple million. What the heck?
But here's where it's going to start to really pay off. One of the big issues, that teams like Oregon have had in the past is that when you match up against the best of the best, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, that cream of the crop, blue blood programs, they have so much depth, like deep depth, talented depth. So when they suffer injuries or they have attrition in a particular position group, they're able to go and pull another 5-star and just slot them in. I mean, Nick Saban was doing that for years. Well, now Oregon, they're not just getting top-notch starters, but they're lining their bench with 4- and 5-star guys. And when you have that type of depth, when you suffer injuries, you've got the ability to pull in and bring in another high-talented person to play that type of position, which means when you step on the field with Ohio State or Michigan, all of a sudden you got the horses to be able to compete, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, but Chad, here's the thing. Depth today usually means all those guys that aren't playing that are really good, they're going to leave you next year because they can go anywhere they want.
Yeah.
The problem is for the other schools, Oregon has enough money to keep those guys around. Like, okay, you're not going to play this year. We'll tell you that right now. Unless somebody gets hurt, you're probably not going to play. But next year, you will. So for the $1 million we're paying you this year, there's more where that came from. Stick around next year and see what you make.
Yeah.
And I mean, the money will keep those guys. It will, especially if they see a path to eventually playing.
Of course. If you join the team and it's like, look, we're going to supply your bank account with the cash that you want, so just remain patient.
Yeah.
See, the reason why this is beautiful, Paul Allen wanted to do the same thing with the Trailblazers.
He did.
And he was the one guy, the one owner who was like, get rid of the salary cap. Most owners are like, no, we want a salary cap because they don't want to pay a bunch of money.
Right.
But Paul Allen didn't want it because he's like, I'll just buy a championship. That was his thought process. Well, Phil Knight is in the perfect scenario. There's no salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
So he can pour in and donate as much money as he wants to make sure that Oregon can pay all the players you want. And like you mentioned, in today's game, if you're willing to pay backups big time ridiculous money to stick around,
Mm-hmm.
then you can build a team that has a chance to go out and win a championship.
Yeah. Because otherwise, we've seen it all over the country. Those players that were backlogged at Alabama and Georgia and places like that,
Yeah.
if they don't play right away, they're often out of there after that. It won't happen in Oregon if they pay enough.
No. Why would you leave a good situation at a big time program if you're getting super paid? Or in some cases, maybe overpaid. Why would you do that?
And they're probably going to win. I mean, if they keep recruiting like this, they're a lock for the playoffs, in my opinion. They're going to make the playoffs. They'll probably lose 1 or 2 games. They'll be in the playoffs with the expanded playoff. That's not going to be a problem.
Oh, if they don't make the playoff, that would be a catastrophic failure.
Yeah. And once you get in the I got the hiccups. Once you get in the playoffs, anything can happen.
I hate the hiccups.
Me too.
Almost as much as just about anything. Because once I get started, it's all I can think about is like, man, I've got the hiccups. And I don't know what the key is to get rid of those things. You
Hold your
swallow
breath.
sugar, you hold your breath.
Mm-hmm.
You got to talk to Doc Nancy about that. What's the trick to getting rid of the stupid hiccups?
I can always get rid of them. But if I keep talking, I won't because I got to hold my breath. So talk for just a second, would you?
All right. The Godfather is going to hold his breath and try and get rid of his hiccups, which is pretty annoying.
Okay. They're gone.
Oh, nice work.
Thank
Yeah, this is great, man. Phil Knight, he ain't messing around either.
you. No, he doesn't mess around much about anything.
No.
He's pretty serious about this. And like you said, clock is ticking for him anyway. He's paid all kinds of money already. So what's wrong with doubling down or tripling down at this point? He wants to see them win a national title. He started this in the 90s, for crying out loud. It's like, what's it going to take? Let's put some money into this thing.
Well, that's why I love billionaires, because they're like, you know what? Screw it.
Yeah.
I'll just spend more money. That'll solve everything.
Yeah.
Forget this. I'll just spend more money.
Yeah.
It's a genius idea, Phil. No, I like Phil a lot. I really do.
It's if it's well known that he's doing this, it's going to make them the villains of college football. You think people hated Alabama? Wait till they hear open checkbook. This guy's making this and this and this down the line. Guys are making huge money. Oh man,
Phil Knight is the collective.
Yeah, really.
He's got endless supplies of money.
The thing is, too, they have other boosters with a lot of money too. I mean, he pays a lot. Then these other people that are also paying, they'll fill in around the edges, or maybe they'll help them in basketball or baseball or women's hoops or whatever.
Pat Kilkenny's checkbook's not light, right?
Oh, yeah. And Pat's been a real asset around there, too. They wouldn't have baseball without him.
It's true.
Kilkenny's the guy that brought baseball back. God love him. Nice guy, too.
I think Dan Lanning he's going to figure out the coaching part, too. He's getting better.
Yeah, don't you think, Chad, the one thing he's got very charismatic and a good speaker, good talker. I think he's a bright guy. I don't think the strategy part's going to be a problem for him once he gets his feet on the ground.
No, he's been around the game long enough. He knows enough smart people within the game. He's surrounded himself with good people. He's going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I've seen bigger buffoons win national championships in the past. Guys who I'm not even sure they knew what was going on.
Well, in the past, probably still true. Recruiting's always been more important than the coaching part.
But the one common thread between all of the national champions in my life, they all had money flowing through the program.
Yeah. They all had a lot of NFL players on their team, too.
That's really what it comes down to. I mean, I grew up a Barry Switzer, Oklahoma fan in the 80s, and they had a football factory, and they were supplying the NFL with a bunch of guys. They just lined up. It's a very simple game. We have more athletes than you. We're going to line up and kick your ass.
Yeah, and you look at the national champions the last few years, man. There'll be one draft just loaded with players from that team.
Well, look at Michigan this year.
Yeah.
They won the national championship because they were the most talented team in college football.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how many dudes got drafted. That's what it came down to.
Mm-hmm.
And Oregon's starting to get to that level now where you're seeing that dude's an NFL guy, NFL guy, NFL guy, up and down the roster. They're littered with dudes. It's pretty impressive. And the great part about being Oregon now, too, like any of these top schools from the big conferences, you no longer have to worry about recruiting the young quarterback and developing. You can just go to the portal and find your guy.
Yeah. Especially if you got that big checkbook.
Crapola, we lost Bo Nix. Oh, don't worry, we're going to go get Dylan Gabriel. Oh, that's not a bad idea. Let's do that. And then they somehow snatched Moore from UCLA, and so now he's waiting in the wings.
Right.
And who was it we were talking to? Alex Brink loves Moore, thinks he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So now Moore, who's being taken care of, will have the benefit of learning, getting comfortable with the system and the coaching staff, and having Dylan Gabriel around to kind of educate him with his experience. And then when Moore takes over, they won't skip a beat.
Yeah, I think if you're a Duck hater, you probably ought to just quit watching football for the next few years.
Well, Duck haters would say, yeah, they've been saying that for about the last 20-plus years, and they still haven't won a championship. That's the problem, is that, especially now, you got to go through the playoff. Winning a title now is so much harder than what it was even last year or 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The gauntlet that you have to go through to win a championship.
Well, you used to not have to play any playoff games. You just got voted in. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, and then you play one game for a championship. Now, with this new expanded playoff format, it's going to be epic, and I can't wait. But the competition, like if you win a national championship, it will have been earned because you're going to have to go through, 2 or 3 legit opponents. That's going to be fascinating. Who do you draw? Who do you get in your first game? What if you get a bad draw and you got to play back-to-back tough games?
Yeah, you got to get seeded as high as possible. So you get that. I think they're giving a bye in the first round to the top 4 seeds. That helps a lot. Then you get probably a really bad seeded team in the second round.
And don't you think Oregon owes a national championship to Phil?
I do.
Come on, step your game up, Oregon.
This guy's giving you everything you have down there.
Everything. The least you can do is go out and win a national championship this year. The one thing for certain about this year, Oregon is right in the mix in terms of talent.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of coaching, quarterback, skill position, offensive line. They've got the tools to be able to get it done.
Well, and they're in the appropriate league now to make the kind of impact they need to make nationally.
And the best part is you don't have to go undefeated. You can lose a game.
Mm-hmm.
You can lose 2 games and still get into the playoff. Now, I wouldn't advise that based on everything you just laid out. You want to get the best seed possible, but that's what's beautiful about the expanded playoff now is that the really good teams, if you suffer a couple of heartbreaking, gut-wrenching type losses, it won't preclude you from being involved in the mix.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That means teams like Georgia who lose a game in the SEC title game at the end of the year, after going 2 straight years without losing a game, they're going to get in.
Yeah, and Chad, it's going to make for better football games during the season, too, because teams won't be so tight about not losing. And I think they'll be more wide open. They'll take that loss if it means just, being experimental to a degree, not being afraid to go for it instead of playing it safe all the time. I think it'll make for better games. I really do.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. It's 5:34 on a beautiful Monday. There you go, Bruce. Hope you enjoyed that. Little time check for the Godbrother.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of alerts on weather. Believe it or not, it's getting hot out there, Chad. At least that's what it's telling me. Excessive heat warnings.
Let's take a gaze. Let's take a little gaze at the extended forecast, see what we're in store for. It says 101 right now outside.
Oh, balmy out there.
101. Let's go play around. Let's go hit Willamette Valley after we're done here.
I don't think so.
All right, let's take a look at this here. So the extended forecast, 103 tomorrow if you need it. Ridiculous. 93, 88, 90, 90, 91, 90, 89, 89, 90, 88, 90, 92, 93, all the way up to July 22nd. And guess what? Not a cloud in sight.
88's going to feel like a cool breeze compared to this. Can you imagine? It's 88 degrees, quite a bit cooler than it is now.
103 tomorrow. What's it going to be at like friggin' 6:40 in the morning?
I think I heard 70, right? It's not going to get cold tonight.
Let me check.
Sleep with the windows open.
Let's check the hourly forecast. 9 o'clock tonight, 91.
That's Arizona kind of stuff.
4 a.m., 72.
Gosh.
71 at 5. And then 69. It dips down to 69 at 6, and by 7 o'clock, 72. By 9 o'clock, 79.
Wow.
And by 11 o'clock, 87 degrees. Good gracious right there. All I can say is the golf ball is flying right now, and it is kicking and rolling down the fairway.
Yeah, it is. Are you planning to play tomorrow morning?
I was until I got called into a meeting. So.
Oh, you got a meeting tomorrow?
Yeah,
Oh,
10 a.m. 10 a.m. special.
Oh,
and it's not one that
no.
I can sneak out of. It's like, are you kidding me? That stuff really makes me mad. I got to be honest with you.
Can't you just play while you're, put the
No, it's an in-person meeting.
Oh, no.
It is. It's an in-person
Get
meeting.
out.
Yeah, I was all set to go. So my two old dudes are going to have to handle it themselves. I'm really bitter about that, man. It's like you're taking away my summer days. I only get a limited number of these type of days, and now you're screwing me.
Yeah, that's what happens when you get into management.
It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm going to miss out on tomorrow. But that's okay. I'll be back out there on Wednesday. I just want to take advantage of it. Like, I can't believe the ball. You're like, whoa. The warmth does make a difference.
Yeah, it does.
All right, let's touch on this for a couple of minutes. Scoot Henderson, we now know, is not going to be a part of the Summer League roster for the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
What's your takeaway on that decision by Scoot and the Trailblazers to have him not play at Summer League?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. You better answer that question because you turned me around with your answer earlier. I think you're absolutely right. It'll be fine for him if he comes out from the start of the season and plays gangbusters.
Yeah.
This is the Scoot Henderson that they drafted. This is what we wanted to see. Nobody will even remember he didn't play Summer League.
No one will care.
But
here's the problem. Last year, he started 32 games, played in 62. He shot 38% from the field, 32% from downtown, and averaged just under 4 turnovers per game.
That's worse than Caitlin Clark.
It's bad. If he comes out to start this new year and he's shooting 38% from the field, 32% from downtown, and he's having issues with turnovers, the fans are going to go crazy. Yeah. Because I think if you ask any normal Trailblazer fan, they would tell you that they were less than amused by Scoot's first year. That it was a disappointment. He was taken number 3 overall. He was considered to be the heir apparent to Dame. And whether it's right or wrong for him, he wasn't that guy. It was underwhelming. And I think there are people within the organization that would tell you they were a little bit alarmed at the start of last year. Yeah. Now, he got better as the season went along, but he didn't live up to the hype in year number 1. It's not the end of the world, but he has to get off to a better start in all phases of his game. Now, the good news is, based on all accounts from the people you talk to and what I talk to, his work ethic is not an issue. In fact, you talked to some people that said that they were happy with the work he's put in so far this summer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been told that he's worked very hard this summer. They're satisfied with his progress. They think he's on a good path.
I would think that Scoot and his team probably think that going to Summer League would be a waste of his time compared to the work he's getting in right now. That's my guess. Mm-hmm. We can be more productive by sticking to our schedule and doing what we're doing now instead of going down to Summer League. Now, for me personally, I don't want Scoot anywhere near the floor at Summer League because those games are a little bit too junky for me. And you got too many dudes out there trying to make a name for themselves because they're dying to get on an NBA roster. Mm-hmm. And Scoot's got a big name, and if they could show him up, they'll do it. Yeah. And I don't want Scoot in that type of situation.
I get it.
My biggest dream for this year is that Scoot and Shaden play a full season together healthy. I know I might be asking for too much, but that would be a beautiful thing.
You're asking a lot.
All right. High fives. Coming up next, Michael Shacker is here, just chilling. How's the temperature over there in the control room, my friend?
My feet are freezing.
It's really. Have
today.
You noticed how much colder it is this hour, Chad, than it was before?
I have.
It's 101 out there. We're at about, 48? Something like that in here.
Here is a message I got from the 541. You guys were talking about how you give your number out to everyone. Well, I think I was talking about that because Godfather would never do that.
I wouldn't.
And Dwight asked if you had any stalkers, and I had to send this right away. Claire, my daughter, wants to know who that is. I don't even know where that came from. Someone's got a picture of our studio in here.
They do?
Yeah. Who's Claire? I can tell you who that is, though. That's Scott Tom, the great Scott Tom with The Bomb. And Shacker brought this in because we have one stashed outside in the stairwell. But that picture, Claire, is of Scott Tom, who's with 106.7 The Eagle, and he's been a part of Portland radio for decades.
Yes, he has.
He was back.
He's like a local Hall of Famer, probably.
He really is. Scott Tom's the best. So that's who that is. Scott Tom. That is not me. So there you go, Claire. Hope that answers your question. High fives coming up next.
A few moments.
Hi, this is Scott Tom, the midday guy here at 62 KGW, and I'm glad you joined us for another exciting season of Portland Trailblazer basketball. And I would like to invite you to tune me in every Monday through Friday, 10 to 3, as I prove there is life on the radio after the John Williams Morning Show. Even though John is a hard act to follow, I'll bring you exciting features, great prizes, lots of your favorite music, and much more. Tune me in, and you'll see I'm not just another pretty voice on the radio. Middays with me, Scott Tom, 10 to 3, here on 62 KGW. And we're limiting.
All right, Godfather, we'll start with you on the high fives because I think you have a worthy one to hand out.
Yeah, I got one for you, Chad. So I'm going to give my high five to 17-year-old Cooper Flagg. He's in Las Vegas as part of the USA Select team. They play against our Olympic team, which is getting ready for the Olympics, obviously, in Vegas. There are 12 Hall of Famers on our Olympic team. All right. Cooper gets it today. Here are his stats from their scrimmage against those Hall of Famers today. 9 for 9 from the free throw line. Thank you, Mike. 6 for 10 from three-point range. 70% on his field goals. 3 steals. 5 blocks. 4 assists. 9 rebounds. 49 points. And you're asking me why they ought to be tanking this year? That's why, Super Cooper. Thank you.
It's pretty awesome.
Jeez, criminy. Oh, he's probably playing against the second string. Yeah. Which Hall of Famers are on their second string, for crying out loud? Jason Tatum? Think he's playing against him? Probably.
It was pretty simple. Not giving yourself one of the 3 best odds to land him would be malpractice.
Oh.
You simply have to put yourself in a position to have him.
It's a fireable offense. And I told you, I've been told by somebody in the league, the tanking will start on opening night. You can't wait till the All-Star break this time. You got to tank. That's just the way it's going to go.
You got to tank.
Yeah.
You got to tank, and you got to tank big time.
17 years old, this kid. He's going to play at Duke, by the way, if you want to watch him.
He's a freak.
He is.
What I love about the highlight package, too, is it showcases everything.
Mm-hmm. Take a look.
Bounce, catch and shoot, little post-up action.
It's all over Twitter. Take a look.
It's the same nonsense we heard about Wemby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's too skinny.
Yeah.
Really? He sure seems to be okay out there.
Yeah, who's he playing against? He's playing in France. He's going to be okay, too.
I'm going to dream about Cooper Flagg the next year. Gosh, he would be so nice.
Well, you know what's going to happen. San Antonio will tank again. They'll pull the lottery pick again and get Cooper Flagg to go with Wemby. That's what's going to happen.
I'll never forget Pop if that happens. I already don't like the guy, but that would just push me over the top. That would push me over the top.
That would mean he'll be coaching the Spurs till he's 100.
But this guy's he's like the next Larry Bird. So if you get Cooper Flagg, you have to put yourself in a position. You simply have to give yourself. There are 3 teams that have the best odds to land the number 1. You got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't jack around. And that means from the start of the season on, you can't mess around.
Yeah.
Make sure you put the lineup on the floor that gives you the best opportunity to land Flagg.
You can't be sitting there with 16 wins and at the end of the season and say, well, I wish we wouldn't have. Maybe we can undo those wins. No, you can't give them back. It's too late.
And a couple of wins in late October could prove to be costly.
Yeah.
Well, we won those 2 games. It felt good. Well, it screwed you, but whatever.
Yeah.
Now, there's no guarantee, but for a player of that caliber, you simply have to give yourself a good position. And if it's not Flagg, that draft next year is deep. It's not just Coop.
Yeah, he's not the only one.
But he is for sure the number 1 guy, right?
Yeah, for a while I heard maybe Ace Bailey, but no, it's going to be Cooper. Has to be.
It's pretty amazing. How good is a guy when the white guy is automatically going to be the number 1? That's pretty good.
An American-born white guy.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's not some kind of Euro.
Someone had the Larry Bird senior picture floating around on Twitter yesterday.
I saw that.
There's no way you can look at that photo and say that guy is going to dominate the NBA. It looks ridiculous.
He looks like the president of the science club.
Yeah, like a total nerd.
Yeah,
with ridiculous hair. But oh man, Cooper Flagg, 49 points. That's pretty smoking hot.
Kidding me? I mean, are you kidding me?
And he looked great here in Portland too with the competition they had a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can dream, Godfather. We can dream.
Boy, it'd be fun to go watch him every game, wouldn't it? Whew. Whew, whew, whew,
How about that do for the ticket sales department? Everyone's job gets easier when you land a player like that.
Oh, season tickets? Sure, we have a few left. Sponsorships?
I mean, it'd be like it's like working down in San Antonio for the Spurs. As soon as they land Wemby, phone's just jamming.
I remember when Orlando got to draft Shaq. Holy cow!
And then Penny.
Yeah,
but Shaq. Oh,
their hold music was Love Shack. Seriously.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Pat Williams, I think, engineered that. He was pretty good at that kind of stuff.
At the Love Shack.
Perfect.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to Michael Shacker for being a stud today. We appreciate you, Michael. And big thanks to the Godfather for hitting the press conference before coming over to the station. Thanks for your time today. We appreciate it. We are back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive starting at 3 o'clock here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.